Welcome to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus and round 5 of the World Rally Championship. This blend of ancient and modern plays host to tens of thousands of holidaymakers each summer. But for 1 week a year, the world's best rally drivers are here, with their thoughts anywhere but on sun and surf. Cyprus is the slowest event in the championship, with average speeds only around 60 kilometres an hour. The high temperatures and thousands of corners also mean that it's hard work for the crews.
The country is okay, the weather is good, but the roads are not nice.
Cyprus is the first gravel rally of the season and the 5th successive European event, although the 3rd largest island in the Mediterranean lies to the south of Turkey and so is actually closer to Asia than Europe. As usual, 3 days make up the rally, the 20 stages covering a little over 320 kilometres. The rough gravel roads mean the event is one of the toughest in the calendar, as Peugeot discovered last year when all of their cars retired from the rally. Not surprisingly, they'll be hoping for better fortunes this year.
It has been a difficult rally for us the last 2 years before, but now I think we are quite okay with the car and with the tyres also.
It's actually quite a lot rougher this year than I think it has been the last couple of years, so it could be even worse again this year.
The Cyprus Rally is also the newest round of the World Championship. This is only the 3rd time it's been a part of the series. The previous 2 WRC rounds here have both been won by Ford drivers. Carlos Sainz in 2000.
Anyway, well done.
And Colin McRae last year.
Well done.
A string of problems, including a broken finger, mean that McRae will be looking for a good run this weekend.
Yeah, I was pleased to be back on a gravel surface, and obviously a rally that the Ford's been very competitive on for the last 2 years, so we're looking for a good result.
Like Ford, Subaru use Pirelli tyres, and like McRae, both their drivers are hoping for a change of fortune. Tommy Mäkinen has retired on all of the last 3 rallies and wants to put those disappointments behind him.
Of course it's some kind of a challenge for me again, because first time on gravel with the new car and new tyres. But feeling is very good at the moment. It's quite relaxed feeling and we have done good preparation. It should be alright.
Last year's Cyprus Rally ended in flames for Peter Solberg, who's still looking for his first WRC victory. He's confident that it could come this weekend.
I like the rough stages. I like very technical and very twisty roads, so I think it will be a good rally.
In 2001, Skoda were the only team to get all of their cars to the finish of the event, and they hope that strength may be the key to success this year.
I'm quite confident that we have a strong car which handles very nice as well, but on the other hand you had to be lucky, me as well as all the other drivers, because you had to cope with so many loose stones here, which every car in front of you move, around.
2 other teams will also tackle the challenge of the Cypriot roads. Hyundai's Freddie Loix, 5th last year, is joined by the 4-time world champion Juha Kankkunen. Finally, Mitsubishi are no doubt glad to get back to gravel after a string of disappointing performances on tarmac. Finland's Jani Parsonen will drive a 3rd Lancer alongside team regulars Alistair McRae and Francois Delacour. After 4 rounds, this is how the Drivers' World Championship looks. Marcus Gronholm has a 1-point lead over Gilles Panizzi, while the reigning champion Richard Burns makes it an all-Peugeot top 3. Not surprisingly, the French team's dominance so far also means they have a huge lead in the Manufacturers' Series, 27 points over Ford.
Here we have a road very representative to what we'll be driving on the rally. Due to the rally running much earlier this year, we've been affected by a lot of the winter rains. As you can see, a lot of the rain has washed the gravel off the surface, and we've got a lot of exposed rocks. Above all else, this is going to be one of our biggest problems, rocks with sharp edges, that's actually going to tear our tyres to shreds and also give us a lot of punctures. I'm almost sure of that.
This particular tyre is designed for the hard gravel surface. It's got big blocks on the shoulder to give the best wear resistance inside and outside, and lot of little blocks in the middle in order to drain the gravel out of the contact patch and give the best grip on it. If the weather change, this is a tire for soft gravel and wet condition. Is a asymmetric tire with a traction block on internal side, and on the external is the blocks is rotated to give the best grip when the car is leaning in a corner. We also used to cut this tire according to the amount of mud is on the surface to give the best braking and traction. Puncture is a big problem here in Cyprus, but with the mousse system, the driver can go at the same speed as the puncture doesn't happen at all. After the puncture, the mousse expands and keeps the shape and the performance of the tire to the end of the stage. We believe with this tire we can win the rally again.
Day one saw the rally's first 6 stages to the north of the host city, Limassol. 3 in the morning and then the same 3 repeated in the afternoon. Some 100 kilometres or so of twisty, rocky roads. First to arrive at the start of stage 1 was championship leader Marcus Gronholm, aware that running first on the road is usually not a good idea on dry gravel. The rally's move to much earlier in the season, though, means that there's much less in the way of loose gravel to sweep away. Gronholm and co-driver Timo Rautiainen were third fastest. Richard Burns and Robert Reed, the 2001 world champions, couldn't match the pace of their colleagues and were only 9th fastest.
Slight left 40, to right, stone, to clear right, to flat to right, 60 metre right in, and cross right minus, 20 cross right, plus 70, metre left, tightens 10 metre left minus, tightens 20 metre left minus, long, left, clear right, tightens bad in, 60, leg back 30, cross right plus long, 50, easy left minus tightens 40.
Tommy Mäkinen was just 12th quickest. His Subaru's rear suspension was too soft, and so the Finn was taking things relatively easy, rather than risk damaging the car so early on. Carlos Sainz was rejoined by Luis Moya, who missed the previous round in Spain after a testing accident. Despite having his regular co-driver back, Sainz was the first to run into problems. Drive shaft pulling out around 4 kilometres from the end of the stage meant only 3-wheel drive and about 16 seconds lost.
Drive shaft broken.
Go, Carlo. Are you at the end of the stage?
Yes, we are at the end, but the last 4 Ks we have broken drive shaft.
With Sainz and Moya facing the prospect of another 2 stages before service, teammates Colin McRae and Nicky Grist showed the kind of pace which saw them win here last year. They were fastest, and so took an early, if slender, lead.
Slow through above water. Into 6 left right. Into left tightens to long slow 3. Left and right tightens to 3. 30, 3 left, tightens long.
Petter Solberg was second quickest, the Subaru just 0.6 of a second slower than the Ford. Like Sainz though, Solberg had rear transmission problems.
No diff pressure at all, so it's not easy to brake sometimes, you know. So no 4-wheel drive.
With Sainz almost certain to lose further time, attention shifted to Ford's third driver, Marco Martin. The Estonian and his English co-driver Michael Park were 4th fastest on stage 1. Knew that with the top 2 finishes from each team scoring manufacturer points, they were now crucial to Ford. Freddie Noix and Sven Smits were 5th here last year in a Mitsubishi, but their first gravel stage in a Hyundai Accent saw the Belgian pass at the 5th fastest time, just 1/10 of a second quicker than Kenneth Ericsson's Skoda. If we take another look at one short section of the stage, Colin McRae's Ford is far more nose-heavy than Richard Burns' Peugeot over the jump, although McRae is quicker. So after just 11.6 kilometres, this was the rally's first leaderboard. McRae led Solberg with third-placed Gronholm and Ericsson in 6th, separated by less than 2.5 seconds. Behind the point-scoring places, Francois Duval headed the chasing pack, although 7th to 12th were covered by only 4.6 seconds. Stage 2 was a 15-kilometre affair, with some fans' allegiance easier to spot than others. Marcus Gronholm was again third fastest, although he dropped to 4th overall. He hasn't lost a gravel rally since New Zealand last September and is determined to restart that winning streak. man who beat him in New Zealand, Richard Burns, is now his teammate. Cyprus is his first loose surface event for Peugeot. Burns was only 12th fastest on stage 2.
Flat right, 70, fast right at minus tightens 20, K right, 30.
With only three-wheel drive, Carlos Sainz had expected to lose more time, and he wasn't wrong. Over a minute down on the stage winner, Sainz was already back in 20th place, with one more stage before his mechanics could recover the transmission.
And 3 right minus.
Fourth fastest,
And
Colin
6
McRae
left,
had
30,
none of his
2
teammates'
left
problems,
minus.
but the Scot had still lost his lead.
30, 3 right tightens over jump, into 2 left minus, and right tightens to 3, 30, 2 left tightens.
At least he didn't have to worry about Peter Solberg, who had a frustrating time with his rear transmission on stage 2.
Keep in into 1 left minus tightens. Into 1 right plus, half long. Into 1 right plus, half long, opens over crest 30. 1 left minus tightens.
But there was more to come.
30. Tighten short, hairpin right. Opens. Hairpin right, opens 30.
As one young star struggled, another shone. 21-year-old Francois Duval is attempting to win this year's Junior World Rally Championship, but also has a limited programme in a Ford Focus World Rally car. He set the fastest time on the stage, his first ever WRC stage win, to leapfrog from 7th place into the lead. Marco Martin second fastest and Buell in second place. Ford's decision to sign the pair looked to have been a smart move, even if it might prove to be expensive in tyres.
A good time for me is no problem. The stage is very sleepy. The car is okay.
Fifth fastest, behind 3 Fords and Gromman's Peugeot, was the Hyundai of Freddie Loix. As Loix swapped his tyres in readiness for stage 3, he knew that his closest challenger was now Manfred Stoll in a privately entered Ford Focus, now one of 4 of the cars in the top 6. Thanks to Virtual Spectator, we can get an overview of the rally's third stage, the 21.5-kilometre Agios Theodoros test, which makes its debut on the rally this year. It's quite a fast-flowing stage, although there are some more typical sections of slower corners. The cars will take a little over 20 minutes to complete the 21 kilometres, an idea of just how slow this rally is. The sun was still shining on Marcus Grönholm. Despite only being 5th fastest, the 2000 world champion was back up to 3rd overall. Stages 4, 5 and 6 would be repeats of the first 3, so the conditions would be more or less equal for all the leading crews. Grönholm must have been hugely relieved that the rally's move to April had helped with the road conditions, and so he hadn't suffered from running first. Second in the championship after the Rally Catalunya is Gilles Panizzi, here on asphalt and gravel. The Frenchman had been in 16th place going into stage 3, but precious seconds would be spent slowing down.
Gauche 85 long. Droite à fond, coup droit.
Richard Burns grew up competing on gravel but was still off the pace. Only 14th fastest on stage 3, Burns wasn't entirely happy with the 206's handling, something the Peugeot mechanics would be able to look at back in Limassol.
Fast left, tightens maybe to fast left, long, 40, flat left, 10, K right, long, 20. Easy left, 60, slow medium left, tightens at maybe long, 10, K right plus in low.
Mäkinen was 6th fastest on the stage, still unhappy at his soggy rear suspension setup, but now also driving in the dark. His electronic display screen wasn't working, so he didn't even know what gear he was in. Colin McRae was 4th quickest. With Duval's tyres hardly up to their task after his charge on stage 2, the young Belgian was only 7th fastest, and so McRae was now back up to 2nd overall once again. Petter Solberg's 2 spins and rear transmission problems meant he went into stage 3 in 7th place. For Solberg and co-driver Phil Mills, though, any thoughts of a first WRC victory were about to evaporate. The Subaru's fly-by-wire throttle cable had come off, forcing the pair to fabricate a temporary repair and allowing Alistair McRae's Mitsubishi to overtake them. McRae, like Delacour in the other Lancer, had been looking forward to getting back onto gravel, but when Solberg eventually got going again after losing nearly 4 minutes, he caught Alistair, who'd broken a drive shaft and so also lost around a minute. It hadn't been a good morning for Sun.
2 left minus half long, tightens 1, okay, take him. Into 1 left, tightens.
But not all of the news from stage 3 was bad. Marco Martin and Michael Park set the fastest time to move into the lead of a rally for the first time. At the end of the stage, it's clear that Park thinks the tyres have as much to do with their performance as his driver.
Stop. Oh, thank you, Borelli.
Second fastest on the stage was the Hyundai of Juha Kankkunen, while the tap-dancing Kenneth Eriksson in the Skoda was 3rd quickest. The Octavia was now 5th overall, with Kankkunen's Accent in 7th place. Using the virtual spectator parallel racing system for the first time on this rally, we can see that Solberg was losing ground even before his throttle problem. McRae and Mäkinen are more or less together, with Burns starting to drop back, but just look at Solberg's time loss over just this 20-second section. Stopping to repair the throttle cable then ended any thoughts of victory.
Marco, 2 stage wins this morning, 1st overall. What a terrific start.
Yes, we are very pleased, I think. Okay, we did expect it to be competitive, but just at the moment we are running further back than the front runners, so it helps us. But I mean, the focus has been really reliable and no problems with the car.
Petter, you're looking really disappointed. What happened this morning?
Everything. I'm working so hard every time, and it's always something is happening, and I don't know.
With the unhappy Solberg unwilling to leave the privacy of his car, we then witnessed one of the most remarkable scenes unfolding. Former teammate but now championship rival Colin McRae eased himself into the Subaru's right-hand seat and spent the next 10 minutes comforting Petter, a situation you'd never see in most other forms of world motorsport.
Who had the problem first?
Solberg was then able to drive into the service area so that his mechanics could fix the problems, but his Impreza wasn't the only car receiving attention. Stage 4 was a rerun of the rally's opener. The organisers looked to have regraded the stages, which meant the first time through they'd been relatively smooth. No such luxury on the repeat, however. Gronholm was 5th quickest the second time through the stage after hitting a large rock and picking up a puncture. At the finish, the anxious Finn was quickly out of the car to check for damage, but the Moose system had worked to prevent the tyre deflating. The stage winner in the morning, Colin McRae, was 2nd fastest this time, but that didn't really matter. He and Nicky Grist had moved back into the lead once again, swapping places with Marco Martin and Michael Park.
3 left, tightens. In 2 left and 2 right, plus.
With Sainz continuing to lose precious seconds with a power steering fault this time, McRae and Martin now held the hopes of the 14 in their hands. 1.4 seconds quicker than McRae and setting the fastest time was the frustrated and very determined Petter Solberg, still well outside the top 20.
Line into 2 right minus, keep in 20, 1 left plus, keep in, tightens, 20, bump into 1 left plus, tightens half long, 50, bump into don't cut, 1 left plus, 40, 6 right, keep in, 30, 3 left, keep in, tightens over crest and hairpin right. Opens, 80, 3 right plus, tightens, minus, keep in, into 1 left minus, double tightens.
Two other youngsters were enjoying mixed fortunes. Francois Duval's superb run was continuing. Third fastest, he was now in third place behind McRae and Martin, but the earlier charge by Manfred Stoll in a privately run Focus had faded. Only 10th fastest, the Austrian was now down in 12th place. So, Ford drivers now held all of the top three positions, with less than 8 seconds separating them. Gronholm was only 6/10ths of a second behind Duval, with Ericsson and Mäkinen rounding off the top 6. Kankkunen, Loix and Armin Schwarz were 7th, 8th and 9th for Hyundai, while Burns was still a lowly 10th. Stage 5, and the spectators were basking in the sunshine. Gronholm so very nearly set the fastest time, just 2/10ths of a second slower than the stage winner, but the performance was enough to lift him from 4th to 2nd place. Finally giving Subaru something to celebrate was Tommi Mäkinen. His rear suspension had been changed at service, his computer screen was working again, and Mäkinen set the fastest time, moving up a place as a result. The rally leader was still Colin McRae, now hardly troubled by the little finger he broke on round 3 in Corsica.
30, 6 right over crest and K left tightens to 2.
But his younger brother was far less happy. Alistair McRae had picked up a 10-second penalty for leaving service late, and stage 5 then saw a double drive shaft failure, which cost yet more time. Stage 6, the last of the day, was a repeat of the test which had seen Panizzi's role earlier in the day. To his relief, Panizzi's teammate Gronholm drove through the stage with no sign of those kind of dramas. 4th fastest, Gronholm kept his cool to end day 1 in 2nd place. Definitely not keeping his cool was Richard Burns. The comparatively slow speeds of the Cyprus rally means that not much air gets into the cars, and Burns was feeling the heat. McRae was again fastest on stage 6 to end the day with a lead of little under 7 seconds from Gronholm.
Three left plus opens long and tightens to 2 plus. 30.
Marco Martin shared the 2nd fastest stage time with Petter Solberg to return to Limassol in 3rd place. It had been a terrific day for the Ford team. With the exception of Sainz and his gearbox and then power steering faults, the day really belonged to the team. They'd won 4 of the 6 stages, had 2 cars in the podium places, and their newest star, Francois Duval, had even set his first fastest stage time in the process. Duval and co-driver Jean-Marc Fortin was 6th fastest on stage 6 and will start leg 2 in 4th place. This is how the leaderboard looks tonight. McRae, Gronholm and Martin are covered by exactly 14 seconds, with Duval, Mäkinen and Kenneth Ericsson completing the top 6. 9th placed Richard Burns will be hoping to get more airflow into the car tomorrow to avoid a repeat of his heat stroke symptoms.
Richard, you're not feeling 100% after that last stage. What happened?
It just incredibly hot inside the car. I very close to throwing up at the end of the stage and a bit difficult to concentrate. I mean, it's the same for all of us.
So we're going to see more speed tomorrow and on Sunday, do you think?
For sure, we have a great position at the moment, so we have to try to keep up the speed.
You must be very happy with 2nd at the end of day 1.
Yeah, it's better what I expect, much better. It's good. Now we have to continue like this and keep our position, maybe small fight with Colin if it's possible.
Colin, end of day 1, you seem to have started this rally as you finished it last year.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep it going for another 2 days. It's going really well. I mean, we expected to be back on the pace here, but you know the result at the moment is perfect.
Nice as well that Colin's been kept honest by 2 of your own drivers as well as Gronholm.
Yeah, I'd rather it was just our two drivers, apart from as well as Grunholm being in there, but obviously that's something we've got to live with.
This, in fact, was how that leaderboard looked after the first 6 stages. McRae's lead over Grunholm just 6.9 seconds, while a further 11 covered the Ford pair in 3rd and 4th places. Behind the top 6, Harry Rovanperä was threatening Loix, with Richard Burns and Armin Schwarz battling for 9th. Day 2, the rally's longest, would see a further 8 stages to the west of Limassol, in the hills near the resort of Paphos. 3 in the morning, 3 in the early afternoon, and 2 final stages in the late afternoon would keep the crews on the road for over 14 hours. In the clear light of a Cyprus dawn, the crews could afford a moment or two to relax before they tackled stage 7.
It's a lead, but it's not a huge lead.
No, it's not huge, and there's still 2 days to go, so we just need to keep on pushing, and hopefully we can be quicker than Marcus.
Harry, you're 8th overall going into day 2. You've got Freddie Loix just 2 seconds in front of you. You must feel you can catch him on the first couple of stages.
Today is a very long day, and if we try very hard and going well, we can do it.
I have a few big boys behind me, and Kenneth is just in front of me, so I think if we want to win some places, we're gonna have to flat out.
Stage 7, the day's first, an 11-kilometre sprint. With the top 15 now running in reverse order, it was the Skoda of Gabriel Pozzo which had the task of running first. But many eyes were on the man running second on the road, Petter Solberg.
6 right plus of a crest, opens half long, keep in, to keep right of a crest, 20, 2 left minus, tightens 1 plus, 30, 2 right minus, keep in, half long, opens 40, late 2 left minus, tightens 1 over narrow slippy bridge, 20.
He might have lost over 4 minutes yesterday with Solberg. He and Phil Mills were 6th fastest on the stage. Finland's Jani Parsonen was on his 2nd rally for Mitsubishi, but he was about to become the first victim of day 2. Broken steering meant the Lancer was out. After a disappointing first day, Richard Burns was determined to move up the leaderboard. Equal 4th fastest, Burns and co-driver Robert Reed had not only passed Armin Schwarz to move into 9th, but the pair were now only 7 seconds or so away from snatching 8th. It was Burns' teammate, Harry Rovanperä, who shared the 4th fastest stage time, and he too moved up a place, passing Freddie Loix to claim 7th. Loix himself was 7th quickest, but the 2.5 seconds lost to Rovanperä was enough to drop the Belgian to 8th. Despite the fact that Marcus Grönholm hasn't lost on gravel since last September, he has yet to win a stage in Cyprus, but just 0.4 of a second were all that prevented him from winning stage 7.
Ja oikein nopea kivet sisällä. Ja nyppy oikein täys. 7 ja haen. Nyppy oikein täys. 8.
Colin McRae and Carlos Sainz had both gambled on taking a tyre more suited to slightly muddy conditions, and that looked to have mixed results. McRae was 3rd quickest, losing 1.6 seconds to Grönholm as a result.
6 crest and right tightens the 5. And here right tightens the slow 4, comes over crest, don't cut. Into left tightens the slow.
But Sainz used those tyres to much better effect. His stage win was Ford's 5th from 7. Today's insight from the virtual spectator comes from early in stage 7. Solberg's Subaru, the 2 Peugeots of Grönholm and Burns, and the Mitsubishi of Alistair McRae are more or less equal over the bridge. But while the Impreza and the 206s stay fairly close together, the Lancer quickly starts to fall back. As well as being slightly slower out of the corners, keep an eye on the speed readouts at the bottom of your screen. While the first 3 all hit a high of 144 kilometres an hour or so, the Lancer is 1 or 2 kph slower. Mitsubishi's problems, it seems, aren't confined to tarmac. stage 8, and while the sun was still shining down in Limassol, it had most definitely been raining in the mountains. Freddie Loik slithered around in the mud, but the conditions would cause further problems for the Hyundai before the stage finish. The accent cut out following a water splash, Loik's losing time getting the car going again, and so dropped to 9th place. Kenneth Eriksson was also under pressure. 9 seconds were lost to the chasing Harry Rovanperä, so the pair were now separated by under a second, and Eriksson's 6th place looked shaky. Tommy Mäkinen too was concerned. He'd moved to within 5.5 seconds of snatching 4th place from Francois Duval, but a mystery engine fault was troubling the Finn. On the road section after the stage, Mäkinen's bonnet was up and there was some head scratching going on.
Something wrong with the engine, I don't know, is it just turbo or exhaust pipe damage or something, but we lost completely torque. I stole the engine once.
Marco Martin was on different tyres to those of his colleagues McRae and Sainz, and the difference showed. Only 10th fastest, Martin dropped over a second a kilometre to both his teammates.
Minus 40, 6 minus left, 30, 3 plus left now.
The muddy conditions suited the tyre choice of the 2 senior Ford drivers. Colin McRae was second fastest, extending his lead over Gronho once again to 8.4 seconds.
Right tightens to 4, opens into 6, right 30, left tightens to 3 plus.
Stage 8 though was a far less happy hunting ground for the younger McRae and his co-driver David Senior. Alistair's rally hasn't gone well so far, and it was about to take a turn for the worse. Literally.
Shit. Do you want to get out or should we stay in?
In the end, the pair got out to supervise the recovery operation. The Mitsubishi was soon back on its wheels again, but their mechanics would have some work to do. No such worries for Carlos Sainz. Thanks to that tyre gamble, he set the fastest time for the 2nd stage in a row. Sainz, however, was still in 17th place, so the stage wins had no effect on the leaderboard. McRae still led Gronholm with Martin in 3rd place, but Mäkinen was now threatening Duval, and 6th placed Kenneth Eriksson was just 9/10 of a second ahead of Rovanperä, with Burns now 8th. Stage 9, at nearly 31 kilometres, the longest of the rally, would see a change of fortune for the Fords. The Subaru of Petter Solberg was 2nd fastest, a full 5 seconds quicker than Sainz. The stage was a lot drier than the previous 2, and so the Ford tyre choice didn't work as well.
1 plus Titans, opens 20, 1 right minus, 10, 1 left plus, Titans minus, into short 3 right, opens 40.
Solberg was now 13th overall, also helped by Francois Delacour breaking a drive shaft on the stage and losing over a minute and a half.
50 mètres, gauche 80, bon.
C'est pas possible le temps.
Vas-y, tu dois juste tromper. 75 mètres à 90.
But there was more good news for Subaru. Mäkinen's mystery engine fault had disappeared, and he set the fastest time.
Ja tosi pitkä vasen nopea plus kirraa 2. 4. Oikein nopea plus helppo aukee. 3. Tiukka serpo vasen kivi sisällä ja pikku pomppu.
This time it was Harry Rovanperä's Peugeot which was the quickest of the French cars. 4th fastest, Rovanperä and co-driver Risto Pietalainen were now 5th, with their teammates Richard Burns and Robert Reid also in a point-scoring position for the first time. They'd climbed to 6th. One reason for Burns' good fortune was Francois Duval's retirement. His excellent run, which included his first stage win, remember, came to an end with suspected engine failure early in the stage.
I'm in the station, but we don't have oil pressure in the engine and it's very noisy, bad noise on the engine. What we should do, continue or break the engine? I don't think so, this is a good idea to continue.
Balkan inside? I don't know.
The wall pressure, no water. Wall pressure finish, the engine is stop.
Those wet pattern gravel tyres had worked for McRae and Sainz on the first 2 stages, but the third wasn't so successful for the Ford duo. Sainz was third fastest, with McRae only 7th. The gap from the Focus to Grönholm's Peugeot was now back down to under 2 seconds again.
Into 2 right plus tightens. Into left and 2 right tightens. And long 2 left minus. And right tightens to 2 opens. 30, 4 left.
After all the problems of day 1, Petter Solberg's Subaru was running second on the road. As a result, Solberg got through the stage before the rain came, which helped him to set the fastest time.
2 left minus, double tightens, don't cut, 40. 4 right plus, keep in the slow 5 left over crest, opens 1 left plus, the gap slipping.
Behind the Subaru came 2 Peugeots. Burns, Solberg's former teammate at Subaru, was equally third fastest, but was 6/10 of a second quicker than his colleague.
Crest 80, flat left, 20 left, max, 100, medium, right, minus tight, and keep right.
Mäkinen finished the stage on exactly the same time as Burns. The gap from first place to third now exactly 24 seconds. Grönholm, meanwhile, was just 1/10 of a second slower than Colin McRae through the short stage, so the gap from first to second hardly changed. Confirmation of exactly how things stood at the rally's halfway point. McRae's lead was now precisely 2 seconds, while 4th place Marco Martin looked to be dropping back to within range of the 2 Peugeots. Kenneth Eriksson was now also less than 9 seconds in front of Loix. Stage 11 was another chance for the crews to tackle the 11.25-kilometre Quattros test. Again, Solberg and Mills were able to get through the stage before the rain fell, and again the pair set the quickest time. This time, though, the rain would be even heavier than on the previous stage. The Peugeots wouldn't like the conditions. Burns was the fastest 206 driver this time, 4th quickest, but by now 5th overall. The reason? A moment's loss of concentration by Harry Rovanperä.
Vasenko 2. Oikein takavino risteys. 7. Varo vasen nopea.
The roll only cost the Finn around 20 seconds, but more importantly, Rovanperä was now down to 6th. Despite an oil leak on the way to the stage, Kenneth Eriksson was 7/10 of a second quicker than Freddie Loix, so the Swede clung on to 7th place. Marcus Grönholm was just 7th quickest, losing another 8 seconds or so to the charging McRae. 3 seconds to the man in 3rd place, Tommi Mäkinen. The rally leader was 2nd fastest, but Colin McRae was a full 17.2 seconds slower than Solberg, which gives you an idea of just how much the conditions changed. Stage 12 was another 30-kilometre affair, but the rain threatened to be a bigger influence on the result than the rocks and stones. For the 3rd stage in a row, the conditions helped Solberg, but on this occasion things were a lot more even. Even so, he was fastest again, this time by over 35 seconds, so Solberg had clearly decided he could still salvage a point or 2 from the rally. For others, though, the rain meant misery. The incredible downpour of heavy rain and even hailstones was bad enough for those crews that had windscreen wipers. Francois Delacour's had broken, and he lost over 6 minutes with almost 0 visibility. Tony Gardemeister in the Skoda was another whose wipers would give up on what seemed an unequal struggle. His time lost, though, was over 10 minutes, and he dropped from 11th to 16th as a result.
Oikein koo. Mennään tuon tässä.
The great battle between Gardemeister's teammate Kenneth Eriksson and Freddie Loix came to a premature end on stage 12. The Hyundai retired with gearbox failure. Tommy Mäkinen too would be another who had cause to paint stage 12. A spin, then having to drive around 7 kilometres with a broken wheel rim, and the Subaru driver was 1 minute and 45 seconds slower through the stage than his colleague Solberg.
Vasen eri 2 ja on leveä 2.
Marco Martin's Day 2 performance had never really matched that of Day 1. He and Michael Park had never looked like winning a stage, and a misted up windscreen on stage 12 merely added to their problems. They dropped to 5th place, allowing a rejuvenated Burns to snatch 4th.
51 and 3 minus left here. Visual.
Third fastest, Gronholm spent much of the stage crawling through conditions which looked more like the Rally of Great Britain than Cyprus, although amazingly the end of the stage was bone dry again. McRae's Ford Focus, though, was only 15 seconds faster than the Peugeot. The 1995 world champion was also taking his time, refusing to be caught out by the treacherous conditions, but his lead had now grown to over 25 seconds.
Continues, step outside. Sorry, okay, long left, right, slippy.
But his brother Alistair wasn't so fortunate. He was another of the victims of stage 12, retiring his Mitsubishi with engine failure.
Tony, I think your problem was quite obvious on that stage.
Very, very bad thing. We broke the windscreen wipers on the about after 15 k's or something, and we stopped many times because we can't see nothing.
This stage is heavy raining and I not can see nothing, and muddy coming in the sideways and water coming inside the windscreen is
most terrible stage in my life.
Why was that?
Here is dry, but in the forest completely it was raining. Water all over the road.
That's probably the worst stage you've ever done. It was terrible, really bad.
Marcus Gronholm said exactly the same.
It was just so much rain you could hardly see, and the road was like a river. The car was just aquaplaning everywhere.
Stage 14 was cancelled thanks to the weather, so stage 13 would be the day's last. Solberg was again fastest, but easily the slowest was Tony Gardemeister, who lost over 6 minutes with an electrical problem.
Mikäs siinä? Vasenko kerran 5.
Gronholm was just 7th quickest on the day's final stage, losing nearly another second to the rally leader.
7 ja oikealle vasen hidas.
McRae, though, was more than happy with setting the 5th fastest time. He and the Ford team badly need a victory here to put their championship hopes back on course, so there was no point in taking unnecessary risks. The leaderboard at the end of day 2 looks like this. 26.2 seconds separate McRae and Gronholm, with Mäkinen and Burns set for a great scrap on the final day. The fight for the remaining point-scoring positions will also go down to the wire, it seems, with Solberg intent to salvage something from the rally. This, in fact, was how things looked after 2 of the 3 days. One more stood between Colin McRae and his first win of the year, but Marcus Gronholm would be determined to continue Peugeot's winning streak. 8th placed Petter Solberg, meanwhile, was equally as determined to salvage something from what had been a frustrating rally for the Norwegian. And so, to day 3. After day 1 to the north of the host city Limassol and day 2 to the west, day 3 was to the east, a loop of 3 stages, repeated, giving 6 in all, a total of around 82 kilometres. his problems and subsequent recovery, Petter Solberg was back to his old self.
Puttet in some extra boost.
Stage 15 was the first of the day, and we can take a closer look thanks to Virtual Spectator. The Mandra Cambiu stage was a 19-kilometre affair, lots of typical Cypriot twists and turns, but also some faster stretches like this straight, and more flowing corners. But those 19 kilometres would still take the cruise over 16.5 minutes to complete. Just as on day 2, the top 15 run in reverse order, so the sole surviving Hyundai of Armin Schwarz started the stage ahead of the men, scrapping for the top 6 places.
In left for short minus, into right 2, 20.
Amazingly, after all his dramas on day 1, those drivers now included Petter Solberg, but he lost exactly 7 seconds to the man ahead of him. That man was Marco Martin, who knew Ford were relying on him to score manufacturer points. But stage 15 belonged to Peugeot, whose car set all of the top 3 times. Fastest was the 206 of Harry Rovanperä and co-driver Risto Pietalainen.
Lyhyt vasen eri 3, pitkä vasen K-kirraa yli 3. Lyhyt vasen täys, 3 pitkä oikea eri, 7. Hai vasen K.
The Skoda of Kenneth Eriksson dropped 2 places to 9th with rear transmission and suspension problems, which allowed both Schwarz and Solberg to move up the leaderboard. Now much happier with the Peugeot on gravel, Richard Burns set the 2nd fastest time and so moved to within 6 seconds of Mäkkinen's 3rd place.
60 slope here right, 60 right, minus 40. Slight left hand, flat right 50, slowly left height, sticky left minus height, 20, fast right, low at 20k left, slippy exit, 50.
4th fastest, Mäkkinen's Subaru was the best of the non-Peugeots, and with 5 more stages to go, it was clear the 4-time world champion wasn't giving up just yet. But what of the 2 men fighting for victory? Stormed through the stage, setting the 3rd quickest time behind his 2 teammates.
3, vasen hidas. 4. Ja vasen oikein hidas. Vasemmalle 2 ja vasen hidas. Ja oikein hidas kirraa. Ja vasen nopea aukeaa.
Colin McRae, however, was given the wrong split time by his team. Thinking he was more or less equal with Grunho when he was actually 9 seconds slower, McRae continued his slow pace and was furious to discover he'd lost a further 3.5 seconds by the stage finish. Stage 16 was only around 13 kilometres in length, but it was long enough for Carlos Sainz and Lewis Moore to lose 35 seconds or so when they broke their car's power steering.
Ahí la baja. Para la derecha casi abren. Hemos hecho pupa, ¿no? Para Sandy izquierda, buena más de izquierda.
No such problems for Petter Solberg and Phil Mills. They were 6th fastest and by now 6th overall, moving into the points for the first time since the morning of day 1. An incredible recovery. The pair who'd been in 6th place going into the stage came out of it in 8th. Marco Martin and Michael Park cutting a left-hand bend just a little too much.
Sorry, it's okay.
Most people would get out of the car to check the damage, but not rally drivers. With the car on its wheels and the flames having died down, Martin engages first gear and the pair are off again. Just a handful of seconds lost. Seeing the accident from another angle confirms just how lucky they've been. Richard Burns and Robert Reid were battling to get onto the podium. Listen for Robert Reid announce their time as he checks the stopwatch at the end of the stage.
15, 20, easy right minus 20, slow medium left and medium left, 30, 10, 5, 7.
10 minutes, 57.5 seconds their time. It was now down to Tommi Mäkinen and Kai Lindström to match or better that performance.
Ja vähän liukas pitkä oikein nopea. Plus 4. Lyhyt oikein 10.
They did. 1.7 seconds quicker. They set the fastest time on the stage. Marcus Gronholm and Timo Rautiainen were fourth quickest, losing 3 seconds to Mäkinen after picking up 2 punctures. The question was, what would McRae do?
Eri, jatkuu oikein nopea, kivi sisällä. 5 ja vasen nopea.
They didn't have long to wait for the answer. McRae, still annoyed at the split time error on the previous stage, had decided to attack and open up the gap once again. As co-driver Nicky Grist reads off the pace notes, the pair have no idea that the rock which caught out Martin lies just ahead.
Okay, we cleared the stage. Unfortunately, we've rolled in there. We've lost the power steering. Other than that, it's not driving too badly. We're going to stop and check the damage now shortly.
Stop they did, but the damage was all too apparent. As well as the bodywork and the power steering, they'd lost 19 seconds and their lead to the Peugeot. So a 26-second lead for McRae at the start of the day had become a 5.5 second lead for Gronholm, while it was now Solberg in 6th place. Behind the point-scoring places, Schwarz and Martin still had a chance of grabbing some glory, with the rest now too far back to trouble the pair. Spectators had to climb every mountain to get a good view of stage 17, but there were a number of drivers who wished they hadn't. Tony Gardemeister picked the worst possible spot to stall his Skoda, right in front of our camera, although others wouldn't get off so lightly. All of the Fords were now suffering from power steering failure. Carlos Sainz was only 25th fastest on the stage, while Marco Martin fared even worse after his had failed following the roll. The Estonian was 27th quickest, losing nearly a minute to Ericsson in the process, although at least he was still 8th. Petter Solberg's comeback after the nightmare of day 1 was still going superbly. Now on course to score a point for himself and 2 points for his team, he relaxed just a little too soon, just before stage 17's last corner in fact.
Short one, right plus. Oh no. Stay away, huh?
Solberg's roll allowed Schwarz to grab 6th place and also took a little of the pressure off Rohan Pera. It was just as well. The Finn punctured all 4 tyres, although Michelin's loose system kept the flat, and so incredibly he still set the 4th quickest time. Richard Burns clearly still had one eye on a podium place. He and co-driver Robert Green were 2nd fastest on stage 17, moving a further 5 seconds clear of Rohan Pera. But the man who currently occupied the 3rd place Burns wanted so badly went fastest again.
Heti pirun pitkä oikein nopea, miinus vähän liukas, aukee. Ja pirun pitkä vasen nopeus, helppo. Ja pitkä oikein.
Tommi Mäkinen won his 2nd stage in a row to increase the gap from the Subaru to the Peugeot to nearly 10 seconds. Gronholm, like Rohan Pera, suffered punctures on the stage, 2 in his case, but the Moose also kept them from deflating. The 2000 world champion was then even quicker than his colleague, 3rd fastest on the stage. Colin McRae also shared problems with his teammates, but wasn't so fortunate. The lack of power steering came at exactly the wrong time for McRae, who lost a further 45 seconds to Gronholm. Nicky Grist's door flying open suggests just how bad the damage caused by their roll had been, and it was now down to their mechanics to keep them in the rally. stage 18, and just as on the previous day, the weather had taken a turn for the worse. On day 2, Solberg had taken full advantage of the rain to set a string of fastest stage times, and he duly did so again, moving back past Armin Schwarz in the process.
Don't cut late short, dip in right, tightens very narrow. 5 left, 20, keep right of a jump, 50, slippy maybe, 1 left plus tightens. Into 5 right.
Rovanpera's Peugeot, though, was still nearly a minute ahead of the Subaru, and so it looked as though the Norwegian would struggle to catch the Finn. Of just how bad the conditions were from our helicopter, although Kenneth Eriksson got a much more close-up view. His rear bumper trailing after a similar encounter with the scenery, Richard Burns was 7th fastest, all of the Peugeots managing to get rain tyres in time. But, more importantly, the Englishman was over 13 seconds quicker than Mäkinen, so the 206 had finally got past the Impreza.
40 metre right minus to key right plus tightens maybe 20 key left. Narrows 20 19 left plus. Narrow to medium, opens to medium left 20 key right tightens back.
Mäkinen wasn't able to match Solberg's pace in the wet of stage 18, but only a little over 3.5 seconds now separated Tommy from Richard, and with 2 more stages remaining, the Finn knew anything could still happen. Kronholm was a lowly 10th fastest. The quickest of the Peugeot drivers, in fact, was Panizzi, who'd been helped by running through the stage before the rain came. Surely, though, with McRae over 50 seconds down, it was now too late for the Ford driver to strike back. Clearly, no one had told McRae that. It was obvious that he was back in attack mode and was determined to make up as many of those 50 seconds as possible. As history has shown time and again, however, when Colin is in that kind of mood, he does one of 2 things: win or have a spectacular accident.
Colin, you're still in the rally?
Yeah, we're still in, but I think we dropped about 2 minutes. I'm not sure what position we are, but we've got no wipers, that's the problem, so I hope the rain stays off.
Do you think you can catch up some time?
It depends on the position and who's in front and who's behind. We'll have to look at the times now.
McRae's second roll of the day had dropped him out of the points, so it was now a Peugeot 1-2, with Burns having leapt from 4th to 2nd in a single stage, and Solberg now 5th. All wasn't completely lost for McRae, though. Less than 10 seconds now separated him from Armin Schwarz's 6th place, and a single point. On stage 19, Burns was 3rd fastest. He'd learnt a lot about the 206's gravel capabilities over the last few days, and 2nd place would be a relief after such a frustrating opening day.
Key right plus to flat left 80 fast right to minus.
But Mäkinen clearly had other ideas. His tyres worked far better on stage 19, and he was fastest, retaking 2nd place from Burns. The pair would go into the final stage just 1.6 seconds apart. Kronholm, though, was out on his own. His lead was now over 1 minute and 6 seconds, and he could afford to ease off a little. Sure enough, he was only 10th fastest. This sorry-looking vehicle started out as a Ford Focus, but Colin McRae had added a few bodywork modifications. No matter how it looked, though, 6th fastest, it was now within 4 seconds of taking 6th place away from Schwarz. The rally's final stage was also its shortest, a repeat of the 9-kilometre stage 17. Schwarz knew Hyundai honours were at stake and stormed through the stage in a time of 7 minutes 49.3 seconds, but would it be enough for the German to hang on to 6th place? Solberg's Subaru, meanwhile, was 6th fastest on the stage, confirming his 5th place, 2 drivers' points and 3 manufacturer points. Rovanpera was 2nd fastest, so he could finish 4th, picking up 3 points for his efforts. After struggling to come to terms with his new car early on, Burns set the fastest time on the stage, but knew that whether or not he retook that second place was now out of his hands. He had done all he could. Mäkinen would now decide it.
Right, plus 50.
Richard, finish the stage.
Tommy set off into the stage, determined that the 6 points for second place were his.
Aukee 4. Servo oikein. Ja pirun pitkä vasen nopea virraa. 15. Pirun pitkä vasen nopea kirraa 15. Tiukka
That
servo
spin,
oikein.
though, meant that at the very last moment Mäkinen slipped from second back to third once again. It had, though, been a thrilling finish to the rally, if Tommy could see the funny side.
Cheers. See you later. Bye. Bye.
Third, boys.
Third.
Subject of Venom.
To no one's surprise, Gronholm again cruised through stage 20. 8th fastest, it was more than enough to secure victory for the Finn, his second of the year, and an incredible fourth successive win for Peugeot, despite the fact that he'd not won a single stage.
Oikein nopea. Maali. Hyvä kausi.
Colin McRae knew that the victory should rightly have been his. 6 seconds faster than Schwarz, at least he managed to drag the battered Focus into 6th place, but he wasn't happy.
We went from 10 points to 0. Looks like I've got 1 point. So.
Confirmation then of Gronholm's victory from Burns. So this was also Peugeot's 4th 1-2 finish in a row. Mäkinen, Rovanperä, Solberg and a fuming McRae rounded off the top 6, while Schwarz claimed the last manufacturer point for Hyundai. Once again, Cyprus had proved itself to be a car breaker. In the Drivers' Championship, Gronholm's lead has grown to 11 points, with Burns now a single point behind Panizzi in 3rd. Victory would have lifted Colin McRae into 4th ahead of Mäkinen, but as it is, he has just 6 points in the Manufacturers' Series. Peugeot have an enormous lead, thanks to those 4 successive 1-2 finishes.
This year, this result is the fruit of a huge work, deep work made by the engineers in order to develop the car and make it stronger for this type of rallies.
Even as Burns and Gronholm sprayed the champagne, the others, notably McRae, Solberg and Mäkinen, were already planning their revenge. Round 6 promises to be equally as exciting, equally as incident-packed as round 5. Until May the 17th and the Rally Argentina.